What about the issue of wine? Because the Quran says in Surah 5, verse 90, that it's Satan's handiwork, but then in Surah 47:15, it says the Shamayim, or the heavens above, has rivers of wine. Was Muhammad in Mecca for a total of 10 years or a total of 13 years? Because there are two different accounts of this in the Bukhari. What will happen to the clouds on the day of judgment? Well, according to the Quran, in six different accounts, in the first one, in Surah 25:25, it says they will burst, but then it says in Surah 78:19 that they will open like doors or gates. Surah 70 verse 8 says they will become like molten copper. Surah 55:37 says they will be red like burning oil. Surah 21:104 says that they will roll up like paper. And then Surah 44:10 says that they will become like smoke. Which one is it? The Sahih Muslim claims that the Dajjal is blind in the right eye, but then also claims that it's blind in the left eye. When it comes to Muhammad being a prophet for all mankind, well, the answer is yes, according to Quran Surah 33 verse 40, but then according to Quran Surah 14 verse 4, he was only sent for the Arabs. And we're going to start with the creation account according to the Quran, because in three specific verses it mentions the creation account being created in 6 days in Surah 7, Ayah 54. Along with Surah 10, Ayah 3, it says 6 days right here that the heavens and the earth were created. And also Surah 11, Ayah 7, it says 6 days right here, as you can see in the English. But what happens when we go to Surah 41? This is what it says in Ayah 9, 11 through 12, and we're going to read all of it because it says, "Say, do you indeed disbelieve in He who created the earth in 2 days and attribute to Him equals? That is the sovereign of the world." So this says 2 days, but if we keep going to verse 10, it says, "And he placed on the earth firmly placed mountains over its surface, and he baruched or blessed it, and determined therein its creatures' sustenance in 4 days, without distinction for the information of those who ask." So 2 plus 4 is 6. Then it says, "Then he directed himself to the heaven while it was smoke, and said to it and to the earth, Come into being, willingly or by compulsion. They said, We have come willingly." Verse 12 then says, "And he completed them as 7 heavens within 2 days, and inspired in each heaven its command, and we adorned the nearest heaven with lamps and as protection." That is the determination of the exalted in might, the knowing. Do you see a problem with this? Do you see the contradictions? How it took 6 days to create the heavens and the earth according to chapters 10 verse 3 and the other chapters that we read in chapter 7 verse 54 and 11 verse 7. But then in chapter 41, it took 8 days. So which one is it? 6 days or 8 days? You see the contradictions? Contradiction is right here in Quran Surah 22, Ayah 47, where it says and talks about the counting of the years. Well, right here it says 1,000 years. But then in Surah 70, Ayah 4, it says here that it's 50,000 years. So which one is it? Is it 1,000 years or is it 50,000 years? Another contradiction in the Quran is the question, who was the first Muslim? Because according to Quran Surah 39, Ayah 12, this lets you know that it's Muhammad. Surah 7, Ayah 143 lets you know that it's Musa, commonly known as Moses, Masha in the Yahudiyah Hebrew language. Surah 2, Ayah 132 lets you know that it's Abraham or Abraham, or as in the Arabic, Ibrahim, who's Muslim and the first of them. And notice how it says religion right here. We just went over that religion means to bind again. The Quran is demonically inspired of Satan, just as I'm proving you, which is why it's false. It's time to test these spirits and wake up to the truth. But it doesn't stop there, because in Quran Surah 26, in the account of the Pharaoh and the Exodus, it tells you here that the Egyptian magicians are the first Muslims. Surah 3, Ayah 33 says that Adam, Noah, and the family of Ibrahim were Muslims also. So the question still remains, which one was it? Do you see the lies and the deceptions being exposed from the Quran? The hereditary laws also don't add up either, because here we are in Quran Surah 4, Ayah 11 and 12, and it says right here that they were instructed concerning your children, for the male what is equal to the share of two females, but if there are only daughters, two or more, for them is 2/3 of one's estate, and if there's only one, for her is half, and for one's parents to each one of them is a sixth of the estate if he had left children. But if he had no children and the parents alone inherit from him, then for his mother is 1/3. And if he had brothers or sisters, then for his mother is a sixth, after any bequest he may have made or debt. Your parents or your children, you know not which of them are nearest to you in benefit. And then if we keep going all the way down to verse 12 right here, it then says, and for you is half of what your wives leave if they have no child. But if they have a child, for you is 1/4 of what they leave, after any bequest they may have made or debt. And for the wives is 1/4 if you have leave no child. But if you leave a child, then for them is 1/8 of what you leave, after any bequests you may have made or debt. And if a man or woman leaves neither ascendants nor descendants, but has a brother or a sister, then for each one of them is a sixth. But if they are more than two, they share 1/3, after any bequest which was made or debt, as long as there is no detriment caused. So something is not adding up, because the wife receives 1/8, the daughters 2/3, a father 1/6, then a mother 1/6. Well, this adds up to 27 out of 24, or 112.5%. What about the issue of wine? Because the Quran says in Surah 5 verse 90 that it's Satan's handiwork, but then in Surah 47:15 it says the Shamayim, or the heavens above, has rivers of wine. Was Muhammad in Mecca for a total of 10 years or a total of 13 years? Because there are two different accounts of this in the Bukhari. What will happen to the clouds on the day of judgment? Well, according to the Quran, in 6 different accounts, in the first one in Surah 25:25, it says they will burst, but then it says in Surah 78:19 that they will open like doors or gates. Surah 70 verse 8 says they will become like molten copper. Surah 55:37 says they will be red like burning oil. Surah 21:104 says that they will roll up like paper, and then Surah 44:10 says that they will become like smoke. Which one is it? The Sahih Muslim claims that the Dajjal is blind in the right eye, but then also claims that it's blind in the left eye. When it comes to Muhammad being a prophet for all mankind, well, the answer is yes, according to Quran Surah 33 verse 40, but then according to Quran Surah 14 verse 4, he was only sent for the Arabs. Sounds like a false prophet to me, just as we've even proven. And no, the Quran is not inspired by the Creator, but rather is satanically inspired. Here are more lies of the Quran to show you that the Quran is not inspired by the Creator, but is a work of Satan. Because in Quran Surah 33 verse 4 it says adopted children are not family, but then in Quran Surah 4 verse 23 it says a foster mother is part of the family. Why? Because Satan wants to be like the Most High. And what has Satan done? Has forged the Quran and has done his own work through the Quran, using Muhammad to do so. Because there's even a contradiction when it comes to the number of messengers, or commonly known as angels, who helped Muhammad. Because in Surah 8 verse 9 it says that there were 1,000, but if you go right here to Surah 3 verse 124 it says 3,000. So which one was it? Was it 3,000 or was it 1,000? Going back to the creation account, what about the creation account? Because there are 5 different stories and contradictions here. First in Surah 96:2, where it says from a clinging substance. But then right here in Surah 21 verse 30, it says made from water every living thing. So now it went from a clinging substance or blood clot to now water. And then this verse right here in Quran Surah 15 verse 26, it says that they certainly created man out of clay from an altered black mud. Surah 3 verse 59 says that they were created from dust. And then Surah 19 verse 67 says created out of nothing. So it looks like there are five different accounts, five different contradictions here. Do you see the scheme and the agenda of Satan through this book? Quran also indicates that human beings will be questioned on the day of reckoning come day of judgment in Surah 37 verse 24 and also Surah 7 verse 6. However, in Surah 55:39, this is a contradiction because here it says on that day none will be questioned about transgression, neither man nor jinn. And what about the flood account? Because here in Surah 21:76, it says that the entire family of Noah was saved from the flood. However, when you go to Surah 11, verse 42, it says Noah called to his son who was apart from them. And if you keep reading on in verse 43 in Surah 11, it even tells you that the son actually drowned. But what we just read, I thought it said that he survived and the entire family survived. Do you see all of these contradictions?